Please welcome chef, humanitarian, and founder of World Central Kitchen, José Andrés, in conversation with Jennifer Siebel Newsom, first partner of California.
Danger, danger.
Hi.
Jose, it's such a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you all for being here. Wow, after everything that Los Angeles has been through, I'm extremely grateful that we can be here in Los Angeles and have this conversation, because so much of what helps communities heal isn't just resources, it's love, it's care, it's connection, and the creativity that people bring in the hardest moments. We've both spent our lives telling stories through different mechanisms, you through food, me through film. In moments of disaster, how do you see storytelling helping to rebuild not just structures, but hope?
I think in emergencies, in the last 15 years I've been doing it, storytelling was vital. And especially storytelling through the platforms that let you arrive to the people quick and fast. The urgency of now is yesterday in terms of the stories and the information we were giving people. That's why World Central Kitchen, part of success is we began putting in use videos in real time of what we were doing. We were not doing tweets, X or Facebook or Instagram announcing what we will do. We were showing in real time what the people at World Central Kitchen were doing. And you will say, okay, well, this is good for what? For fundraising? No. It helps. In a way, this was good to tell people that care, let's say Haiti or let's say Bahamas, 80,000 people, category 5, Dorian. Everybody was very worried. What happened to those 80,000 people? 17 islands totally destroyed by one of the most powerful hurricanes in modern history that also stayed 4 days in the same location without moving. The stories we began telling, especially every time we made first contact, landing with a helicopter or arriving by a boat, this will be the first time that some families will be able to be on a video that then I will be able to upload to any of the World Central Kitchen teams, telling them, in Green Turtle, we are okay. Everybody is okay. So that was used now as storytelling for making people understand the suffering that people may be going after fires in Los Angeles or an earthquake in Turkey or what is going in Ukraine or what is going in Gaza and Palestine or anywhere else in the world. But that's where I realized that the storytelling in real time was giving hope to people that had no other way to find the information. And this, for us, has become a very powerful tool because we were telling the stories as they were happening by the second. Yeah. And now you can see that almost every member of World Central Kitchen that likes a little bit social media, our videos are not orchestrated, are very here. This is what's going on, and they go and they are posted immediately. So the storytelling has been amazing because also it's been able to help us capture the massive amount of volunteers that World Central Kitchen is able to bring in real time, depending the necessity of every emergency. So storytelling for us, for me, has been very powerful as a recruitment of the people that make our response possible. Mm-hmm. And I have a question for you. They give us some of the questions, not because we cannot on our own have the conversation, but because we only have 20 minutes so we don't get lost. And I think it's especially for me. So okay, now we want to really know about you, Jen. So you've worked obviously with so many family, children, after disasters. I love this about you during the fires. I saw you right and center and front, and I was really very proud to see you doing that. And so I want to know through your lens, no? How film, family, service, how have you seen storytelling become really a tool for healing?
So there's dignity in being able to tell your own story. And I think meeting with survivors, with entrepreneurs, with families, with children in the aftermath really grounded me in the pain and the suffering, the trauma, but the need of how much we need each other. And so I applaud you for giving us, being a leader constantly in global crises, being there for people, bringing them together through food, breaking bread, nourishing their souls, giving them an opportunity to connect human to human. And that's what we're trying to do in California, that we've launched through California Volunteers and our Service Corps, but also through this soft campaign of California Love, California Strong. It's really about how do we provide Californians with self-care, mindfulness, movement. We have a whole campaign around that for youth, calm your body, or move your body, calm your mind. But it's also about that self-connection piece, which you make readily available, and then the service. The one thing that sort of surprised me in the aftermath of the fires was how quickly people who had lost everything, their business, their home, their school, their community, came together to be in service of others, to provide food, whether it was other restaurateurs, to provide clothing, to give someone a hug. That was just so beautiful, and that gave me hope. And that, I think, is the power of storytelling that you talk about. Because we're in this together. We're only as strong as our weakest link, and climate change is real. It is a crisis. It's not going away. It's definitely not going away right now with some of the reversals of our climate policies in this country, and globally for that matter. And so what do we have? We have each other. And thank you for showing the best of humanity constantly. I remember when you called the governor and you were there in Oakland when that cruise ship was stuck with COVID in the early days of COVID coming to California. You've always been there. And so I applaud you of showing us the best of our humanity. And you're such an inspiration to young people. You're an inspiration to our Service Corps, the largest Service Corps, larger than Peace Corps in the country, all started here in California. We need more people like you. And so I'm just so grateful to you, and I'm honored to sit here with you in conversation because, what you do, what you embody is essential.
But thank you. You are. Yeah, but this is not what I do. I mean, it's not what, right now today is hundreds of thousands, millions of people around the world as we are having great meals and enjoying ourselves and becoming hopefully smarter by listening to each other. It's millions of people right now, even in Yemen, feeding the hungry, which may be wars, and maybe those wars are right or wrong. I don't know, but what is right is that people are hungry. And it's somebody in Somalia feeding people. And it's somebody in Sudan and in Chad. And those are really the heroes. The guys doing it even if nobody's watching and nobody's tweeting about them.
Can I ask, was there anything that you witnessed in the first few days of the fires? I remember seeing you right away with first responders, and Jen Gardner was there, and I just was so grateful to see the two of you, and you were going right into the heart of it. And but was there anything that you witnessed in the first days of the fires of how food can be a tool for communities to heal and rebuild?
Listen, I was on my way to Spain, I think, and then I called my CEO, Sam, and he was like 24 hours, he was not responding to me, and I was like, what the heck? Why are you not answering to me? And that was a mind-blowing moment when it's like, Jose, my house burned. I mean, my phone burned, everything burned, gone. In that moment, I changed the plane and I landed in LA. And that's a matter. The World Central Kitchen team was already, the great thing about World Central Kitchen is that people activate themselves. You don't even need to activate them. And we activate with restaurants and with food trucks, and a lot of people say, wow, your food is very good. Like, why should be any less? We should be treating people in emergencies like if they're coming to my best restaurant. Because what's been going on, especially on humanitarian aid, and it's more complicated than black and white, but it's this helicopter mentality of I'm gonna drop meals ready to eat that right now is what the United States does, as the government and as FEMA. And God knows I've been trying to change it with Republican and Democratic administrations, but my lack of English has not allowed me success yet, even when everybody is very happy to meet with me. But I've been a big failure. Because this thing of dropping meals ready to eat, which by the way, they are super expensive. And number two, they occupy a lot of space. And number three, they occupy a lot of space in a helicopter that you can only drop so much, like in Nashville. We have to stop that, especially when you have restaurants. Why? Because that money to buy the meal ready to eat, that money should be going to the local restaurants and food trucks. So in the process of providing the emergency, you are already channeling money through the local economy. And these restaurants don't go broke in the middle of the emergency. And they are part of the response. So what we saw here was no World Central Kitchen feeding Angelinos, was Angelinos feeding Angelinos. Because those food trucks, hey, they know every corner of Los Angeles. The food trucks know every corner of America. And by the way, when police don't let you go through a barricade, because police is trying to protect you and keep order, and they say, do you have a permit? I'm like, I don't have a permit. Who gives those permits? But Jose, you cannot go in, you don't have a permit. Like, shit, it's 4 a.m. in the morning. What, you think I want to be with tacos at 4 a.m. in the morning? I had a golf game in Spain. But everybody is doing their job. But you know those food trucks? They don't take a no. Because emergency, everything is chaos. Nothing is organized. We're going, let's wait in the morning to find the person that gives permit to feed people. It doesn't exist. So those food trucks, they will go through those. Eventually, they'll find the road where they will get near the firefighters. Why we feed the firefighters? Because even if they have a catering company, the catering company is a catering company. So even if the government, the local fire station has a catering company on contract, you know what happens sometimes? That catering company is supposed to feed the local firefighters. Nobody's going to work at the catering company because their homes are under fire. So nobody goes to work, so that company is not there. That's why you need an emergency company that does that. And the stories were many. The one that broke my heart was Palisades, Fire Station 69. I was able to arrive to see them right there, 24 hours. And they were destroyed because they saw the homes around them. They were almost in tears. And they felt so powerless. When we know they were heroes trying to do their best with a fire that all the water in the world will not even stop it. And so when you see that close and center, is when sometimes being there next to food is a moment to send love, is a moment to send respect. When people arrive to a shelter at 4 a.m., that you are there waiting for them with a hot soup, is beyond the nourishment. It's telling them, I know this is hard, but I want you to know that these people like us, that we're gonna be there next to you until things get better. That's why it's so important to be every day in the communities and every day bringing hot food, every day until they don't need you any longer. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. So about boots on the ground, and you know, you mentioned before in the worst moments of humanity, and we saw it here in LA, the best of humanity always shows up. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we have to go through mayhem to see the best angels in all of us. There you don't see red and blue, you don't see black and white, you don't see Christians and Jewish and Muslims, you see people taking care of people. And that's so beautiful. Yeah. So, you know, Jan, being on the ground and all of us, you see moments that stay with you forever. Mm. sometimes good moments, sometimes not so good moments.
Yeah.
But especially, in the good moments, sometimes it's small gestures
Yeah.
that can have a huge impact in us. And I know you've been there too, and you've seen many of those. And I saw you in shelters and recovery centers even to this day. And I know you've been hearing a lot of people's stories. So what was a moment or a meal that you think you'll never forget of being in the ground through the fires and after the fires, listening to those families, to those people that went through so much?
There were so many. The first Red Cross Center that I visited, it was a young Latino father with two toddler girls, and just seeing how the center, in partnership with Service Corps members from California Volunteers, really showed up for him and his girls who were hungry, who didn't have clothes, they didn't have a place to live or sleep, and so they were sleeping in the auditorium in an open space where there weren't a lot of children. So of course the child care piece really resonated, stuck with me, the need for wholesome real food, needing to create a place to guide him so that he could get back on his feet and go back to work, and his kids could be cared for because their school had been shut down. Another story that just so resonated with me was Altadena Girls, the young girl who learned from her experience in a flood in Tennessee and then came to Altadena, and having gone through what she went through as a teen, realized that the Altadena girls and Palisades girls who lost their homes not only needed clothes, but they needed a mental health center. They needed a place where these young girls could convene and feel like real girls again, and have each other's backs and be there for each other. So again, it was that community piece that she was creating for young girls that you create through World Central Kitchen. And then this one restaurateur in Altadena who fortunately survived, as did her son, and in the middle of the night went back and they saved their neighborhood. They saved 4 houses in their neighborhood with a neighbor running across roofs and putting out embers and fires. But she fed all of the community members through her restaurant, right? She just did what you do, and she cooked and she prepared meals with love and created a space for her community. And so it's those stories that give me hope and that stick with me and make me believe in all of us and our human potential and our capacity to do good and to build bridges and to heal. And again, to your point, it just makes me so sad that we have to experience these tragedies to see it. And it's still going on, right? But I know that, for example, that many of us, we live in Northern California, and you wouldn't know in the beginning, right? I remember I was down here, but when I would go back and forth because of our kids, people were how can we support? How can we help? And so I think if we as a society, and I really want California to be the model for the country, if we can keep this support going and this energy going, this connectivity going, even if we don't live here, of providing time, of providing gratitude, of providing resources, right? Of continuing the support, and you do it, you're everywhere. You and your team are incredible. But if we can continue to be a state that's of service and other-oriented and really make that part of what being a Californian's about, ideally for me, as California goes, so can go the country. And then, imagine what that country could be like if we were a country that was always other-oriented, always on the front lines, providing love, care, support, community for people in need. It'd be really cool.
Who is the leader of emergency? He's a chef for World Central Kitchen. He's a chef called Jason Collins, an amazing guy. You see him and you want to hug him. He joined World Central Kitchen in the fires of Ventura. He came as a volunteer. We began using one of his restaurants and food trucks, but he became without realizing, just the leader of our Ventura response. And then he joined Bull Central Kitchen.
That's right.
So California, unfortunately, in those moments, has been a place that a lot of members of Bull Central Kitchen has joined forces with us.
Well, you and all of you who are service-oriented, other-oriented, philanthropic, and on the front lines, you are our heroes. And I say that because I want the younger generations to really understand that there's value in being of service, there's value in being other-oriented, that this is important, that this matters, that this is what it means to be a Californian, this is what it should mean to be an American, this is what it should mean to ultimately be a human being. So anyway, I'm just so grateful to you for being that story for future generations. I want to dig into something which is that sadly, to that point, despite the value in being of service, we as a society rely so much on the unpaid, invisible labor, right, that allows, right, everyone's volunteering, very few people are getting paid to do this work. And you recently wrote an op-ed that stuck with me, warning that cuts to SNAP wouldn't just increase hunger, but would hit rural communities and our food workers the hardest. From your perspective, what do you think elected officials are missing when it comes to the real-life impact of food policy and ultimately that which really matters, like the care agenda?
Okay, let's talk politics. Which talking politics should be about talking policy, and where good policy becomes good politics. If the cuts on the SNAP happen, are going to be affecting red and blue states equally. I would say even, and I will argue even more, the red states. In the first place, we should have nobody in the SNAPs. Everybody should be making such a good minimum wage that we have nobody. But what is their government and democracy for? I'm okay, I'm more or less taken care of, but still I need a government that builds me roads and airports and for the common good of all of us. But some of us, we're gonna fall behind. Some of us, we're not gonna be as lucky as I was coming as an immigrant. And governments in America and anywhere else should be there to take care of those citizens that fall behind. That's why programs like SNAPs, food stamps, work. What politicians are missing? That we create policies that nobody checks is repercussions on the ground. You pass something on the Hill 20 years ago, but it's working, it's solving the problem, or it's creating more problems. Government should be in the business in investing in the people they serve. And we should, yes, stop throwing money at the problem. Yeah, clap all you want. But we're not gonna do this just doing cuts in a crazy way to government. What we should be doing is what works, what can be improved, and if anything, what new policy needs to come. Should be the law of the land, in the same way California has universal breakfast and lunch, that no children in America should be hungry. No American should be hungry. And it's a very small cost, a very small investment in the betterment of America. So what the government misses is also, we saw it during baby formula, how America ran out of baby formula. We need a White House National Food Security Advisor next to the President of the United States. Food is more than the USDA, the Department of Agriculture. Food is more than school lunches, even it's important. Food is about more than subsidies to the farm industry, even I prefer no subsidies. Food should be part of urban and housing development, should be part of defense, should be part of health. Let's make America healthy again. I'm all with Secretary Kennedy. The only thing I'm asking Secretary Kennedy is, when were all those voices when Michelle Obama was trying to bring fresh fruits and vegetables to the schools of America because politics was on the way? So I will ask always to every Democrat and every Republican, can we make it about policies that make America better? I'm not interested in the politics. And that's all I have to say about that. We have 1 minute remaining.
I know.
So, the last one.
Food is everything.
All yours.
Hold mine. All mine?
All yours. Let's
No,
bring it home. What
I-
gives you hope moving forward?
Yeah, well, look, we signed...
As a first partner, I don't know, rumors are there that maybe one day a guy you know may run, I don't know, or maybe you run, I don't know.
So
What gives you hope?
what gives me hope is I'm sitting next to you having this conversation at Milken. Thank you, Milken. Food matters. Food is more than just the sustenance, the nutrients. We passed legislation in California for universal meals. We champion Farm to School. It's one of my biggest California for All Kids initiatives. So the California kids are getting fresh, delicious, nutritious, locally sourced food. 3 million California kids have been benefiting from this so far. We want the entire state to benefit from it. We are the largest agricultural producer in the nation. I say this because you've connected the dots with food, mental health, behavioral health. There's new studies coming out on cognition and what we're eating, and on service. And I think we can do this in California. And as California goes, so can go the country. But thank you for your leadership, because you've been at the forefront and showing us what's possible. And food is at the center, so thank you.
Yes, you can clap. But just to wrap up, yes. It's a Frenchman, and I don't mention Frenchmen in public usually. I like them, but you know. 1826, Brillat Savarin. He said, "Tell me what you eat, I'll tell you who you are." He said, "The future of the nations will depend in how they feed themselves." Make sure, like from school lunches to emergency response to smart policies, let's make sure that food is at the center of not only building a better America, but building a better world. You agree with me on that?
I agree.
Let's go.
I agree. Thank you.
Our next session will begin momentarily. Thank you.